Today's episode of Splain Yourself is brought to you by bodybuilding.com. Do you have skinny robin-like legs? Or maybe a bird chest? Please flap one over to bodybuilding.com for a wide selection of unregulated supplements, fitness products, workout plans, and a terribly narcissistic social media community component.
Welcome to Splain Yourself, everyone, the podcast that gives regular people a chance to explain their actions or beliefs. I'm Sarah, and I've been dubbed the mayor of Crazy Town today.
And I'm Michael, double gun pointing up in this Mickey flip. Double guns! Our topic today is humor. What makes us laugh and why, and how do we do so?
So our guest today is an expert in this field. We just happen to work with him, but he gets paid to be funny. His name is Harrison Brookie, and not only does he mold young minds with us here at Next High School, he also runs the Alchemy Comedy Theater, an improv troupe here in Greenville. Welcome, Harrison.
Hey guys, I'm so glad to be here.
Well, thank you for spending some time with us. We've asked you here today to, of course, explain yourself, and in doing so, also explain what actually constitutes comedy, or your philosophy of comedy. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you end up running an improv theater?
Yeah, so I grew up here in Greenville in a pretty large family. I have like 6 siblings, approximately. And that leads to a lot of fast-talking, fun-loving, humorous people. And so I had kind of always been funny and used humor as a tactic in general, but I had not really done any performance or any real acting. I did some acting like in middle school, but nothing really until college. So my sophomore year at Clemson, I was taking a theater intro class, and you had to do some kind of like special extra work on the side, like set up for a show or sell tickets or audition for something. And so being a 19-year-old kid looking for the easy way out, I auditioned for something you didn't have to prepare for. So I auditioned for Mock Turtle Soup, which is Clemson's improv group, and I got in. And that was 14 years ago.
Nice. Had you had any experience with improv before that?
I don't remember anything. I think I had seen Whose Lines Anyway, but I didn't really remember growing up watching it very much. And I had gone to their show, which was 2 days before the auditions. So I went and watched the show, and I was like, oh, okay, I could audition for this. And then I auditioned and got in, apparently.
Okay, so you got onto the Green Turtleback Improv, or whatever that was called.
Yep.
That is a big step from comedy sort of college hobby to running your own troupe professionally. How do we make that leap?
Yeah, so I did that for 4 years, undergrad and grad at Clemson. And then I had visited... there's comedy festivals throughout the country. And there's a comedy festival in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And so I visited there, went there every February with my college group to go and perform and take workshops and things like that. And when I graduated from Clemson, my wife and I were going to go, we wanted to travel somewhere. We wanted to live somewhere else that wasn't Greenville, somewhere that was different than Greenville, but not too different. We're only slight risk takers. So we were somewhere in the South, someone who's not as conservative as Greenville, but somewhere we could still drive, and not Atlanta. So there's not a lot of options.
Sure.
Yeah. It was Richmond or Chapel Hill. And I had been to Chapel Hill. We went and visited, and it was lovely. And so I lived there and taught high school at Bunn High School.
Bunn.
This is a shout out to all the Bunn High School listeners.
Yeah.
Which was a lovely school, and I learned to teach there outside of Raleigh. And then I did improv at a theater in Chapel Hill and learned to kind of teach improv there. And was a coach there and was an instructor there.
Okay.
And then,
there we go.
In 2011, I moved back to Greenville, where I grew up, and there were some Clemson alumni, people I had done improv with at Mock Turtle Soup, who were living here, but either not doing improv or not doing the kind of improv that we do. And I said, hey, this is almost over 6 years ago. I said, hey, let's start doing shows sometime in the fall. I started rehearsing, and then in September, started doing shows, 2011, and then started teaching classes in January, and then kind of grew the theater from there and added 8 people a year or something like that.
Sure, and your theater is next to the Coffee Underground in downtown Greenville.
Yep.
Do you own the theater?
Yes.
Who physically owns that
So
space?
that theater's been there for a really long time. Coffee Underground's been there since 91, I think,
Wow.
or something like that. And so that theater's, to my knowledge, always been there since the coffee house has been there. And the very first show, the owner tells me, was an improv show by a guy named Jeff Summerall, if you know that name. He did this big Clemson, South Carolina rivalry documentary a couple years ago. He's what local performance was, I think, in the 90s.
Okay.
And so he did a couple improv shows there, nothing super regularly. And then there was some music open mics, and poetry open mic, which still happens, and stand-up open mics, which still happens there. But we started leasing the theater on Fridays, so you lease the theater on a night. So we don't own the theater.
Interesting.
We lease it on a specific night. And then after Fridays, we added Saturdays. After Saturdays, we added Thursdays. So now we have 8 shows a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 7:39, and a 10:30 show each Friday and Saturday.
Sure, and you work at this you make a sustained effort at this every day.
Yeah.
So even when you're not renting the theater, can you talk a little bit about how the logistics of this work?
Yeah, so the theater is kind of in 2 parts. There's the performance aspect of the theater, and so we do 8 shows a week. And then there's kind of a rehearsal training center part of the theater where all of our performers rehearse once a week. And anyone who is a performer has gone through at least 4 levels of our training center to learn the kind of basic concepts of how does improv work, how does humor work, how does group ensemble work, because most of what we do is with a group. And so, yeah, probably like 50% of my work is just in the training coaches, teaching classes, teaching people to teach classes, and things like that.
Well, that's certainly an intensive process, and it seems to me you really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have follow-up questions, but I
Hit
want to
me.
let you
Oh, okay.
continue
Yes.
with your line.
So my last in this line of question before I retire my questioning is: it seems to me you don't need to practice improv. I mean, it's unscripted, right? So what exactly does practice consist of?
So the word improv kind of means without preparation, right? So you can do improvised jazz music or improvised theater, but all of those things require a skill set to kind of already be able to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I actually think improv is actually like playing a sport. So basketball teams practice, and no one ever says to this basketball team, "Why are you practicing? The team's not even here."
Right.
Sure.
Don't you just go out there and shoot baskets? And they say, well, no, we're practicing. There are things that make us better working together. We're practicing shots, getting a rhythm of the game, and that prepares us for the actual competition on the stage or on the
I love that analogy. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So improv, every single person, all 75 members of our theater rehearse every single week, at least once a week. And all the teams perform at least once a month. Some of them once a week, but some of them once a month.
Awesome. And I was going to ask, maybe interwoven with your practice, are there ways that you guys kind of stay on your toes individually as comedians? Do you, like, if you think of something really funny just randomly, do you have any system for saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to put that in the next show? Or do you get things from life? Like, I'm thinking of authors and how they keep writer's notebooks and they have little things that they always are just jotting down. But what's your system? Do you have a system?
We primarily do improv comedy shows, which means when we show up, we have no idea what's going to happen. No content is pre-prepared. And really any plans to put in pre-prepared coffee, or pre-prepared, I looked at your word coffee. Any plans to put in pre-prepared comedy it wouldn't really be hard to do.
Sure.
Right? It would be like if on a basketball team I said, man, in the third quarter I'm going to shoot only threes.
Yeah.
Like the rest of the team, it wouldn't make sense to
Right.
why I'm
That's
doing
true.
that. So that's improv comedy, but we also do some sketch comedy and some stand-up comedy.
Okay.
And so improv comedy is great for getting content that you can then put in those types of shows.
Okay.
So we did like a show recently in our festival, and a lot of that was inspired by improv scenes that had done before, or an idea that you could then say, I have this idea, let's improvise it. And then, oh, how'd that go? Let's improvise it again and retry it again.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I was also going to ask if you guys have kind of a published or some kind of formatted system that you use for your training, like an improv, I don't know, guidebook
Curriculum.
or like curriculum. Yes.
Yeah. So we have 101 to 601 improv curriculum. And then
Okay.
we have, so it's 101, 201, 301, 401 is kind of the core curriculum. You have to take those classes in order to audition. And then 501 is kind of like an advanced class of seeing all the different types of long-form improvisation.
Right.
And 601 is kind of like a conservatory where you have to kind of apply to it. The current artistic director at the time teaches it, and that's kind of the graduating class for
Okay.
the improv curriculum.
And these are like widely used, or you guys came up with them?
So teaching at the theater in Chapel Hill is kind of the core of where I learned to teach.
Okay.
So the classes are not exactly the same, but the 101 is pretty close to it.
Okay.
And it kind of gets probably less the same as you go along.
Gotcha.
But that was kind of the building blocks of it. And then I've also trained at a variety of places around the country. I took a 5.5-week class in Chicago.
Oh, fun.
And just there's festivals, and so I'm constantly going to festivals and taking workshops and teaching
Nice.
workshops and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, so it's like, as you're trying to estimate, it's probably 20 pages for each class
Okay.
of the curriculum. So 20 times 6 for the improv portion, and then there's a there's a sketch 502 and a stand-up 503, which are kind of like supplementary, using the
Sure.
skill sets of improv to do these other more scripted type shows.
Sure. So in this curriculum, I mean, I see that it advances and builds on itself. What is it actually then to be funny? Let's get down to brass tacks. What
Yeah.
isn't this what your curriculum is trying to build up?
Yeah,
What is-
especially 201. So like 101 is a lot of stage work. Like how do we get people comfortable on stage? It's a lot of the stuff I teach here at the school, public speaking.
Yeah, I've
Like,
seen
how do
you
we
teach that, right.
Yeah, how do we get people to fight against this kind of instinct to be afraid in front of groups of people, which is totally normal and totally common with young people or adults. 201 then is, okay, if we're comfortable, or at least we understand the concept, they're all introductory classes, but if we're comfortable and understand this idea of what stage presence and what collaboration and connectivity looks like, how do we then apply it in a humorous way? I mean, 101 is a very funny class, but 201 is where we really dissect it and ask what is funny. So the answer is it's hard to know what is funny.
Sure.
Right? It's very culturally specific. It's very time specific. So like I'm sure if you like went back 150 years ago, the things that are very funny would seem very mean to us.
They'd be mean.
Yeah, if you even like watch the first season of The Office, you're like, man, Michael is mean.
I can't watch
and
it.
sexist, right?
Yeah.
And racist.
Yeah.
And so even that short amount of time for a very popular mainstream television show, it changes. So if I could like summarize very concisely, what I think makes people laugh is kind of an expected surprise.
An
Right?
expected surprise. What does that mean?
So, like if I said 1, 2, 3, 4, not very funny, that all makes sense, right? If I said 1 apple, that's no real context for that, right?
Right.
If I said 1, 2, 3, 4 banana, that seems kind of funny, right? We have this kind of a sequence, we break the sequence, and because we're like looking forward, there's some expectations of it. If that makes sense.
Sure.
So like a constant example I give in our 201 class is divorce, right? There's a phrase, another way to describe comedy is benign violation. So something's benign, it's not funny. If something's violating, it's also not funny.
Right.
Right? But if it's both of those things, then it can be really funny.
Right.
So
Wow.
divorce is a great example. So divorce is not funny, it's sad.
Right.
Right? It's a violation. Right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's talk about divorce. It's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Let's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then frogs are also not funny, but not because they're like violating, but because it's just like a frog. It's benign.
Right.
Yeah.
But imagine a scene where 2 frogs are getting a divorce.
Interesting.
That's
Okay.
funny, right?
Right.
So in a
Right.
normal scene that's not funny, where someone says, look, I need the kids, I'm taking the kids, you can have the house.
right.
Not funny.
Right.
Right? If I said ribbit, 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 ribbit,
Not funny.
Right?
Right.
But if I said, look, I'm taking the tadpoles, you can keep the lily pad, but they're mine. That's funny, right? We have this kind of bridge between these kind of two, an idea that feels like I understand it, it's expected. Oh, I know what a divorce conversation feels like, right? But it's also a surprise because of this kind of X element of them being amphibians.
So I have a question about this. If you kind of learn about what makes things funny and you become a student of comedy, do you think you can get to the point where anyone can be funny?
100%.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. So one of the kind of core ideas of why I think improv specifically is open to lots of different types of people, and that's one of the things that makes especially my theater unique, but it's true of a lot of improv theaters to a certain degree, is no one's full-time job is running the theater or participating in the theater. No one is a professional actor in our theater. There's a couple people who are professional actors who do stuff in Atlanta and things like that, but most people are not. Most people are engineers and architects and teachers and nurses.
Sure.
And the idea is that the skills translate back and forth. That if I can get better at communicating and listening and focusing and collaborating on stage for something silly as frog divorce, it can also make me better at those things in the real world. Because really improv is just normal conversations to some kind of heightened stage level.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Is there a point, because you do this for a living, that you find nothing funny?
I heard this thing, I think it was about Lorne Michaels, but it was about, they said when he sees something really funny, he doesn't laugh, he just points and goes, that's funny.
Right.
I've read that.
Yeah.
That was in the big biography book they put.
Yeah, and so I think there's like 3 different comedian responses. There's like the no response, that's not funny. there's the like, oh, okay, yeah, like laugh, like acknowledging the
Yeah.
humor there. And the other one is like jealousy, like, oh, I wish I'd have done that.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
fun.
Yes.
I still really enjoy comedy. I mean, I still watch at least a show a week, or try to. I'm pretty good at like cutting my brain off, like the director brain.
Sure.
And I think it helps that it's not my whole life.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 3 kids at home. I have a career here at the school where I teach history. And so it's allowed me to kind of say, I'm going to sit here and watch this $10 improv show just for what it is.
Sure.
Right? And I'll maybe make some mental notes or some notes on my phone if I need to email a coach or something. But for the most part, and especially while I'm in it, there's almost no judgment. Because I can't be a director and a player at the same time.
Right.
And so I think I probably laugh more if I'm in a show like on the sidelines watching it.
Yeah.
Because I'm freed myself from any responsibility at the theater.
Right.
I'm just there to provide this show and support what's going on there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I still laugh at comedy all the time. I think I don't watch as much comedy TV because I get so much live comedy. I have a theory that drama is better on TV and comedy is better live. I mean, comedy is a collaborative feeling. Everyone in the audience, you laugh,
Yeah.
it makes me want to laugh.
Sure.
But drama can really be experienced alone,
Yeah.
you know? And it's also nice to be able to zoom in, right? You can't really zoom in on a stage. But comedy, you don't need to zoom in. But drama, you kind of do need to zoom in,
That's
right?
interesting.
And so I think I like watching comedy live and I like watching drama on the screen.
Awesome.
Interesting. My favorite stand-up comics are often products of some sort of horrible upbringing, where they are self-admittedly it's kind of a neurotic mess. Or
Yeah.
there is something that has gone on in their past which shapes their point of view.
Yeah.
Give us an example.
The comedian Jim Norton is a sex addict, for
Right.
example, and so his whole act is about his love of transvestites and
Okay.
prostitutes.
All right.
Right, and so he started out as an alcoholic and a drug addict, and he went to rehab, and his addiction shifted.
Okay.
So now the whole act is sort of what he enjoys in this realm.
Okay.
And the awkward sort of effects of this.
Yeah,
Sure.
It's a pretty common stereotype that like comedians are just weirdos
So messed up.
and messed up,
Yeah.
and sad, right? Yeah.
Yes, but you don't seem to have any of these problems.
I think
As far as we know.
yeah, it's all secret.
Yeah.
I think there is a truth that humor. Think about the idea of benign violation. If I grew up in a home that feels very violating,
Right.
humor can be a way to like inject some release. I mean, humor is really, it's like a release.
Sure.
Right? I mean, I once heard a description of why, I think this is probably the best like evolutionary explanation I think I have for humor. It's, I'm in the woods, it's 20,000 years ago, right? And I'm hoping that I don't get eaten by a lion.
Yeah.
That'd be good, yeah.
That'd be good, right? And I like see something over in the corner of my eye, and I'm like, oh no, it's tense, I'm a lion. It's like a lion's gonna eat me, right? And then I realize it's just a flower. And like the human response is,
Yeah.
right? It's like this release
How
of
silly
tension,
of me.
right?
Yeah.
It's the benign
Yeah.
violation. It's like, oh, it's a flower,
Yeah.
right? And so laughter is almost this way to communicate this feeling of a released tension.
Sure.
So I think for people who grew up in a place that feels really tense, like what they say, comedy is like it's like a mechanism to deal with tension. It can make things feel less tense. So it's a coping mechanism, right?
Right.
Huh.
So I think that's probably true. I think there are people who can be naturally funny, and they're using it as a way to avoid tense sadnesses and things like that. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in
Humor
a
is definitely
pretty
my defense mechanism.
yeah, and there's
sure.
other like it's not necessarily anything wrong with that, right? I mean, I think true. There's the quote at the bottom of my email right now is something to the effect of make people laugh when their mouths are open, like pouring truth.
Ah.
And so you can really, I think, say a lot of things that are very true to people, and with their laughing, it's like a way for them to absorb it in a very safe way.
Absolutely.
So I think I did kind of grow up in kind of a tumultuous home. I have a lot of siblings, and we're all crammed into a little house.
Where are you in the birth order?
I'm in the middle, kind of right in the middle.
Middle?
Yeah.
High five, middle children.
High five, middle children. Gotta get that good high five on the mic.
Oh, I thought that was a high five instead of me.
Are you also a middle
middle?
child?
No,
No high five for
Silence.
I'll just sit here by myself.
Yeah, so I think I did use it. I think also, I remember feeling as a young child like I had super successful older siblings, and I remember I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to be an engineer. I'll just be charismatic and funny.
Yeah.
And I was also 4'11" when I started high school, and so I was never going to be like an alpha male.
Right.
I mean, today I weigh like 135 pounds. And so I think humor is a way to kind of like manage those situations, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that a lot of the comedians would say they could sort of talk their way out of bullying, right?
Yes,
To relieve
yes.
the
I think that's pretty
tension
common.
situation.
Yeah. I have a distinct memory from middle school of this guy saying, and I don't really remember being bullied that much. I mean, I guess I feel like everyone got bullied, and if you didn't,
yeah.
you were the one bullying.
Yeah.
But I have a distinct memory of this guy saying like, I could beat you up, and my memory was, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 4'11".
Obviously.
I weigh 100 pounds. And I'm sure it was not as cool as how I'm making it sound, but
What was his response to, yeah, you could?
this is all. It's hard for me to even know if this memory is even true.
It might be a dream.
Yeah,
you've
he
had,
did not
but-
beat me up, or I feel like I would remember that. Yeah, so I think the way it's flipped for me though, and because I think I had a lot of support, especially in high school. I was the loser of my friends in high school. Like I was the troublemaker, and they were all much more. I had positive peer pressure, and in high school and in college. That I think I had a lot of support, and so I think I kind of used humor in a way that was more healthy. And then the more I understood it, the more I could like pinpoint how it could be useful. To say like this needs to be said to this person. How can I say it in a way that feels less adversarial?
Sure.
I can use humor to do that. Yeah.
Sure. Does everything seem boring to you because you are in the cutting edge of comedy and pushing the envelope towards what is humorous? So when I make my awful jokes, does this seem kind of boring and trite, or has this like fundamentally skewed how you view interactions with other people?
So I think the word jokes, especially in improv, is kind of like a no-no word. Like because the idea of a joke is the same as me shooting my free throws, right? It's a thing that I'm going to say no matter what happens, right? I'm going to go out and when I hang out with these people, I'm going to try to work in my old racist grandpa joke, right? Or especially, I think old men are famous for this, right? They say the same jokes over and over again. So I think that I am like not interested in. But I think the thing that improvisers are good at is the laughter we've had in this conversation is natural and like a part of like a human interaction. So that I completely enjoy, and that's I think the part that makes improv successful. The idea of like a pre-planned, packaged joke, it doesn't feel, because what improv is it's happening there for everyone on stage. The audience is seeing it for the first time, and so are the players. So it's this kind of universal experience. And on stage, if you ever feel like someone's cramming in some weird political perspective or some joke they heard earlier, or
Sure.
a reference to a movie in a way that's like they're just repeating the movie, right? It's like
Guilty of that.
this doesn't feel like as enjoyable. I mean, think about the best laughs you had as an adult or as a kid. It's where someone says something and everyone's riffing, right?
Yeah.
And everyone, that's milk's coming out of everybody's nose. That's the best kind of laughter. Yeah.
Sure.
Agreed.
So it feels shoehorned to you.
Yeah, it feels unnatural. Yeah, I mean, it's like if you're a friend of mine is in sales and we're trying to work through how can we help salesmen understand the principles of improv to make it better. And he said a common problem he has is people will walk up or they'll have a conversation with someone like, "Oh, how's your family?" Great. Are you interested in a vacuum?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, wow.
And so
Don't care about
it
your
feels
family.
completely
Yeah.
unnatural.
That
and
is stiff and rigid.
Yes, and so part of what I think humor can do is it can kind of, like benign violation can make things that feel rigid more fluid and more natural. Yeah.
I love it. So switching gears just a little bit, talk to us about yes and, because I've seen you teach this to some of our students, and I've heard you say that it's kind of a life philosophy, even more so than an improv tactic.
Yeah. So one of the things that happens at every improv class I ever teach for the first time with people, whether they're elementary school students, middle school students, high school students, or 75 years old, is there's this inherent, one, they're afraid. They're being asked to do something that kind of puts them in a vulnerable position, right? Jerry Seinfeld has a joke where he says, people are so scared of public speaking, it's like their number one fear, over death.
Yeah.
So at a funeral, they'd rather be dead than giving, right?
Yeah.
A monologue.
Giving the eulogy.
Yeah, giving the eulogy.
Yeah.
So there's this automatic fear of like, I'm being asked to do something dangerous. It feels like I'm about to get eaten by lions, right? And there may be some like evolutionary explanation for why standing in front of a large group of your peers feels dangerous.
Probably.
And now it's not, right?
Yeah,
There's not really
no.
any real danger to doing it, but yet your brain has this huge rush and you feel like your heart rate's up and you get hot. And so people will automatically feel unsafe, and so they want to say no.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And whatever, it's a heightened stakes, but it happens in the real world when they don't feel unsafe. That in a board meeting, if someone presents an idea, it's very easy for me to see, well, this is why this idea doesn't work, right? But it's harder for me to say, well, here's the good parts of the idea, how can we build on those good parts? So the idea of yes and is kind of this core concept of how do we improvise a show together? If you come out and say, it's raining, and I say, no, it's not raining, we now know nothing, right? We don't know it's raining, we don't know it's not raining.
And you've squashed the spontaneity. There's
Yeah.
no place to go from no,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah, right. But if you say it's raining, and I say, this is a great time for us to get engaged. Right now I've created this great rich environment. Thanks to you, now we have this great picture, and thanks to this idea, now we have this great relationship connection. So yes and is just a very simple idea of ideas are probably better than you think they are, and really what the goal is to find a way to say yes to it and find a way to build on it. And for me, it's completely applicable. Like for raising kids, it's super helpful because kids are always asking you to do things that maybe they shouldn't do. But I think having your default be yes, and obviously you're not saying yes to everything. I caught my son hiding under my car yesterday. Right?
Oh no,
That's a bad thing.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
But but if he wants to jump off my table or something else, like, I think as much as my default can be yes. I think that's what play is. If you're playing cops and robbers and someone shoots you and you say no one wants to play with you.
Right.
It's the same for meetings. If someone's like, I'm trying to do this idea, and people are like, that idea is bad for this reason, then not only is that idea dead, but the other idea the guy behind you was going to suggest is now not going to be suggested.
Right.
So an environment of yes creates an environment of more ideas and more spontaneity.
So yes and is encouragement, essentially.
Yeah, it really is. It's encouragement and not just
Validation.
It's not just go girl, but it's like go us.
Yeah.
It's
I'll
I
help
own the
you.
idea
Yeah.
too. The moment you say it's raining on me too in the improv.
Wow.
So it's encouragement and ownership?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
co-owned.
Buy-in.
Yeah. If you ever hear someone say after an improv show, I thought I did really well. Everyone else did poorly. Then you were the worst.
They missed it.
You
Yeah.
missed the whole idea because
Yeah.
it's like a basketball player saying afterwards, I won, but the rest of the team lost.
Which some
That's
of
not how
them
sports
have
work.
done that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I love the parenting tie-in, even though I'm not a parent. Michael, you're not a parent,
Nope.
but I am an aunt, and
Yeah.
I feel like aunting is more of a yes and
Oh,
with
even more
kids.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In fact,
totally.
I've gotten the dirty looks from my sister, when dealing with her kids, because I'm always like, yeah, sure, why? I don't care, because I don't have that fear.
Right.
It's almost this irrational fear that something crazy is going to happen to your child.
Yeah, and I think it's the social shame. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's not so much I'm concerned about the health and wealth of my child, although it feels like that. I think it's actually I'm concerned about the newspaper story about the mom who left her kids
Yeah.
play outside without
That's interesting.
permission, right? And so
Yeah.
it's not so much that the kids are less safe. Obviously, they're more safe, right? I mean, who wants to put their kids and have them live in the 1950s
Right.
before there were vaccines, right?
Right.
But
people
Some
do, yeah.
some people in California, even this minute.
Jamie
Yeah.
McCarthy thinks that's a wonderful idea.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez, Louise.
But I think generally, this is there's a societal fear, and so it's saying no is out of fear, and saying yes is really embracing the fact that there's not that much to fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's an improv phrase I say a lot that like lean into the fear. The first year I hosted the TEDx Greenville here in Greenville, it's kind of an intimidating thing. I never hosted a big event like that, but the worst case scenario is actually not that bad. And
Do you visualize the worst case scenario? Or no? You just kind of brush it
no.
off? Okay. That's probably
Yeah.
better.
No,
That's
I think it's probably, yeah. I mean, you want to be predictive, you want to try to problem solve, but
Sure.
I just remember thinking, like, what else is worth doing than the things that you're scared of, right?
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
yeah.
Absolutely.
That's interesting. And we've hit on this theme before.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe what's worth doing is what makes me comfortable.
Yeah, and I do plenty of things that make me comfortable, but you're already going to do that. That's not very good advice, right? That's like advice to everyone. Keep breathing,
Right.
right? Your default is going to be what makes you comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think most of what we do is what makes us comfortable, right? Choosing toothpaste, choose the one that you like more, right? But I think in the question is, why am I deciding not to do this? If the answer is fear, and it's not like gonna kill me fear,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't
Yeah.
want to own a bear. That seems like a pretty good thing to say no to. But most of our fears don't match up with the actual statistics, right?
Yes, they're unfounded.
Yeah.
I'm scared of needles, even when they're administered by doctors, not
Exactly
because
right.
the needle is going to harm me.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though it does sting a
Yeah.
wee bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that I don't like
The idea of
the
it.
idea of it, and
Yeah.
I don't like watching it
Yeah.
when it goes through the skin.
Oh, don't watch. I always turn away.
Oh no, I think the research says to watch.
Really?
Yeah.
Ew.
You're
No.
suggesting lean into it?
Lean into it. Oh, I watch it.
Lean into the fear. Maybe I'll try that next time.
Yeah, but really, but again, if we were like robots, everyone would be constantly afraid of not getting the shots, right? You'd be constantly worried about like, oh, I'm supposed to get a shot today. Oh no, that's the real threat, right?
Yeah.
Right,
The
yeah.
real threat is to get polio.
Yes, that is certainly a problem.
And so I think trying to calibrate, I think our fear calculators are just not very good because think about how much life has changed for humankind even in the last 200 years.
Sure.
Right? and that our brains just haven't changed that much, or if only at all, right? And so there's just a lot of catch up to do. The reason, the number one killer of Americans is that we eat too much delicious food, right? But the number one killer 300 years ago was the exact opposite.
Right.
We don't eat enough delicious food. We get more calories, these things, and so our brains haven't caught up.
And I think that might be the hidden danger in just always doing what you're comfortable with. It's not just that, even with the physical things, you could end up really harming yourself, but even just like socially, always doing what's comfortable. To me, it seems like there's going to be this cognitive dissonance that pops up that you just don't even know is the result of you constantly being comfortable, and you may not attribute it to that ever, but that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
So you've worked with so many people.
Let's get biblical real quick.
Yeah.
Like the number one command in the Bible isn't don't have adultery. It's don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Right.
It is.
So I think there's
that's
some real.
There's so many times.
It's like a real. I think that there's an assumption that we're gonna be afraid already in society.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. Jerry and I tell that to each other all the time. Like, the number one most common phrase in there is do not fear.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, I just wanted to ask about the people that come into your theater to do improv, because you have people that are in your troupe, but then you also just have like people that come and try improv for
students. Who take classes.
Right, the classes. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So you've seen like probably some metamorphoses of people who like are just deathly afraid of being in front of people.
Yeah.
And then what does improv do for them?
What's the thing where you do it over and over again and you get used to it? What's that called?
It's called muscle memory.
Assimilation?
Yeah, well, just whatever that is. So you do something once and it's hard and scary, and you do it 100 times, it's a lot less hard and scary.
Absolutely.
And so what improv makes you do is it makes you interact with people in an uncomfortable situation and somewhat high stakes. I mean, it's a $10 improv show. It's something I'm constantly reminding people is like, it's not that big a deal.
It's not high stakes, really. Yeah.
But it does feel like high stakes. Your brain thinks it's high stakes. People come out of an improv 101 class, and I bet if you watch their brain, a very similar thing is happening at like boot camp in the army, or like in a foxhole.
Sure.
Right? You feel like you're gonna die. These
Yeah.
people are with you, and they went through it together, right? And so the metamorphosis, I think, is you just get used to it.
Yeah.
You get used to being uncomfortable, and the things that were once uncomfortable aren't even that uncomfortable anymore. I mean, for me to do an improv show on that stage that's connected to Coffee Underground now, I mean, we've had 2,000 improv shows, and I've been in easily over half of them. You know.
Wow.
And so it's I don't even think about it.
No.
You know?
Second.
But then I do like so last weekend I did a Christmas party for a veterinary hospital, and I was like, oh yeah, this is what it feels like in my gut to like do a show again, right? And I always get, I get, we warm up before shows, and part of the reasons we warm up for people who are nervous is to kind of get them connected and eye contact with everybody else. And there are people who aren't nervous anymore. It also kind of reminds them of there are some stakes here, you know. So I think one of the metamorphoses is you just get used to taking risks. Your default becomes more yes. And I sent an email to the company on Sunday and said, I need this favor. And for essentially, can you give me your whole Saturday for something?
Oh, wow.
And within like 2 hours, people said yes.
Lots of yeses.
It was very easy, right? And I think the thing that is unique about my own perspective and how I run the theater is the danger in that is you can have cultish power. You know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of theaters that say, hey, you're a part of our improv family. And I don't say that.
Yeah.
Because I have a family.
Yeah.
Right.
And these people are,
I like that.
Some of them are good friends. Some of them were at my wedding. I was in some of their weddings, right? And some of them I do consider like true outside of improv friends, but those are because we've connected in the world outside of improv.
Right.
Children play together or whatever it is. But I'm very hesitant to say that we are a family. We're a community, and that's important. But I don't want to, when I cut you from your improv team, I'm not your dad. Doing
Right. Yeah.
So I think there is this. I once heard someone say like, say yes until you have to say no, and that's like a pretty good rule of thumb. So like your default should be yes, but that doesn't mean we want to like embrace sexual harassment, right?
Right.
No.
Right.
No.
Right. And so part of his ability is to understand what it means to say no and be able to empower and really saying no to sexual harassment is actually saying yes to the larger mission of the organization.
There you go.
Right? We want to make people feel safe and supported, and so really those types of actions are the opposite. They're saying no to people. They're making people feel like they're limited. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there, in your experience, are there characteristics that people could come to you with that you could predict them to be a successful improv practitioner? Like, for example, it helps to, if you want to be an NBA player, it really helps to be tall.
Yeah.
And if you're not tall, the chances of making the NBA decrease greatly. What are some of the predetermined characteristics that come to you with, and you would say this person is going to be really great at it?
Yeah.
And is any of it short and fat? So I think I have a potential.
Well, what's great about improv is that the joke is that improvisers are just like normal-looking actors.
Yeah.
Like, actors don't look like people; they look like these, like even like ugly people on TV are like really attractive.
Right.
Yeah.
But improvisers are just slubs. They're just like normal people. There's almost no physical qualification to do improv, which is great. I think I'll preface the answer with who would be good at improv is that given enough time, anybody can be good at improv.
Sure. Yeah.
Just like given enough time, anybody can be good at free throws.
Sure.
Right? Barring some major physical disability, right? If you give me 100 years, I will be amazing at shooting free throws.
Right, sure you would,
So
yeah.
same thing for improv. The difficulty becomes if you don't have 100 years.
Yeah.
So if you start doing improv at 70,
Yeah.
you're unlearning a lot of 70 years of stuff.
Yeah.
And you're learning more other skills on top of that.
Right.
So youth can be an advantage, especially, but there's probably a cutoff. Like you have to have some understanding of how you personally are before you can play pretend characters, right?
So it's self-awareness and youth so far?
Yeah, so self-awareness, and I don't even mean youth, I just mean time. So that's what
Okay.
youth is. Youth is just
Sure,
time to
sure.
do it, right? People who are already doing public speaking are already good at it, right? Because they've already gotten rid of some of these other issues that come with it of just being scared and being supportive. People who already work in like some kind of collaborative environment, right? So if I'm trying to think of the worst person to do it, right? Which might actually be the most important person to do it.
No, they should
Right,
do it.
because
right?
that's validation for your theory.
Yeah,
that
so
you
let's
can keep changing.
create the worst improv student. So they're 80.
Okay.
Yeah.
They work at home. They don't interact with anyone.
How about a shepherd? Like you're older, it's just you and the sheep all day.
But a shepherd is doing a lot of nuance with sheep, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's having to be part of the improv is the nuance of it, right? I don't know the details of being a shepherd, but I think dealing with animals is not radically different, right, than interacting with humans. So there's probably some part of it there. So 80 works alone at the home, is giving a task and just does it with no interaction with people.
Sure.
Has general anxiety, social anxiety, and is mean.
Yeah.
Oh, and safety conscious. That's the big thing too, because.
Risk averse.
But those people aren't going to sign up. One of the things I say at every company meeting we have a company meeting every 6 months at auditions. A thing I say a lot is we've created an incredibly wonderful community here because there are people who were willing to take a big risk at least 6 months ago when they started taking classes, or maybe 10 years ago for some people, right? They have some kind of stick-to-itiveness of like, I want to keep going and getting better. It's self-improvement, right? You're learning a task that's hard, right? And like supportive, because part of the challenge, you're getting supported, you're getting feedback and notes on a regular basis, right? Which I think is a specific type of person. You showed up on time, right, for a series of classes and rehearsals and things like that. And so the training center, the reason why you can't audition until you take 401 is the training center is just like a filter. Like it filters out all the douchebags. It filters out the people who aren't reliable. It filters out people who just don't have $175, right?
Right.
And which actually can be a problem. There probably is maybe a lack of income diversity, which may lead to a lack of racial diversity, because there is somewhat of a financial barrier.
Yeah.
And we are in the process of setting up a scholarship to kind of deal with some of those issues, while at the same time trying to keep the reliability still there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being mean, you think would make you worse at improv? Because I think mean is often funny.
That depends.
But it's collaboratively funny, right? I mean, I don't know what mean means. I guess I was thinking someone who is unkind and
kind of a jerk
giving
to everybody.
Yeah, I mean the person who's at the
So
meeting.
they're mean in real life. They're not stage mean.
Oh no! I mean mean in real life.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm playing a mean person on stage, I'm playing a character. And that's one of the things too. I would also say you said self-awareness.
Yeah.
So maybe one of the flip sides of that would be insecurity. If you're really insecure and you're so unsure of every choice you ever make, being able to be embracing other people's choices and have them embrace your choice is really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I'll be clear, all that list of those things I just described, if that's not you, then you should take an improv class. You should be perfect for it.
Right.
If it is you, you should definitely take an improv class. Can be
of the
perfect for
list.
you.
And
Yeah.
be less
Yeah.
mean-spirited.
Yeah.
Before you come in, just get that out of your system.
And
There you go.
we do like an intro. I'm there at the beginning of every Improv 101 class to say these kinds of things that we're asking you to take risks and be vulnerable and try new things and just trust us. We'll take care of you. Don't sexually harass each other.
I mean, those all sound very reasonable and seem like they would move your improv career along, I
Yeah.
think. We are sort of getting towards the end of our time here. We don't want to hold you over extra. Can you give us your plugs for your improv troupe and your schedule and all your social media and that kind of stuff? Sell yourself to our vast listening audience.
Yeah, alchemycomedy.com, greenvillecomedy.com, greenvilleimprov.com, all go to the same place. We have shows every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 7:30 and 9 o'clock, and a show Friday at 10:30 and Saturday at 10:30. Every Saturday at 4:30 for $5. So you can sign up and just show up at the theater and just try improv for $5. And then there's Improv 101 classes starting about every 6 weeks or so. There's one in January. There's one, in January.
That's
Awesome.
That's great. And I can offer a personal testimony. My wife and I went to see Harrison
yes.
do improv, and we had a really wonderful time. They make it look very easy, but I'm sure it is actually very difficult with effortless, and it was very, very enjoyable. And a very reasonable price.
Yeah, the shows are from $0 to $5 to $8. The most expensive show is $10 whopping dollars.
Yeah.
I think we went to one for 10, but it was great. It was your two-man show, one of your two-man shows. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we went for $10, and I felt like I completely got my money worth in yucks.
Yeah.
Plus, you can drink beer while you're watching.
Yes, you
Harrison
Yeah, and you
perform.
don't have to be 21 to go. Try to generally keep it as an open environment as possible. Most of the 7:30 shows are family friendly, PG or so.
Right.
9 o'clock show, PG-13. None of them are really that graphic.
Nah, I don't remember anything.
Keeping it light.
Yes.
Well, cool. I guess that's it for our time today, but this was so much fun. Many
guys.
thanks to Harrison for being our guest and making us laugh today.
Thanks for being laughed.
Until we can. And until next time, knuckle up and always be ready to splain yourself.